Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us. And this afternoon, we know that at this moment we are still battling with the coronavirus pandemic, and in one way or another, it affects every one of us, especially those of us in the education sector. It's estimated that about 1.2 billion students worldwide are staying at home at this moment due to the school closure as a result of the pandemic. And for teachers, about 80 million teachers are said to be at home. And some of them, a majority of them, cannot continue teaching at this time. Some are resorted to alternative means of teaching, or in some cases, some are taking other jobs. And there is a likelihood that some of these people will not even return to the teaching profession post-pandemic era. And we have such other issues already around. And in Nigeria, the figure shows that we have about 46 million students that are at home during this period. And in some other parts of the world, the problem is in varying degrees. Some schools are already resuming back, and at the moment we have 177 countries worldwide that still have a complete an entire closure. Some are reopened. About 10 countries are reopened. 177 countries are still there that we cannot be able to figure out when schools are reopening. This afternoon we shall be discussing this would cost the education sector. And joining us to discuss that are Professor Idowu Olayinka. He is the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan as a professor of geology. And we're also joined by Dr. Azeez Ademola. Is the Provost of the Federal College of Education, Akoka. Other panelists, whenever they join us, we'll be introducing them. Good afternoon, sir. Professor Olayinka.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Dr. Ademola, nice to see you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Please unmute your mic, sir.
Myself?
All right.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome, sir. So we'll be starting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Professor Olayinka, sir, what is your general assessment of the education response to the pandemic globally? And you could talk about it globally and coming to Nigeria. What's your general assessment of the education response so far?
Well, I think, thank you. I think the reality is that this COVID-19 pandemic, it came so suddenly. So most institutions all over the world were not prepared for it. But the reality, on the other hand, some institutions already had in place mechanisms for e-learning. But for us in this part of the world, it has been quite a challenge. I think the last time the world experienced something close to this was in 1918, 1919, during the Spanish flu. So, and since then, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. So currently, I mean, this one just came suddenly, maybe by December last year, and that was just about 5 months ago that the COVID-19 started in Wuhan, China. Then gradually it was spreading to other parts of Europe and America before it more or less took over the whole world. And like I said, so it came so suddenly. We were not well prepared for it. Most higher institutions have had to close down. So we're just trying to react. And in Nigeria, just like in most other parts of the world, I mean, you have the learner or the student. Then you also have the instructor or the lecturer or the professor, as the case may be. And if you want to use e-learning, at least you need the lecturer, the teacher who is at a remote site, then the students who are in different parts of the world. So both the staff, the lecturer or the instructor and the student, they need access to internet. Then they also need the means of accessing this, whether it's a smartphone or a laptop, just as we are doing now. But all of us, I think when I check my system now, there are 74 participants. currently with this interactive session that we're having. So it means that all of us have access to internet. Then we also have access to a smartphone or a laptop. I'm using a laptop now. But I'm sure some other people, some of the participants may also be using a smartphone. But the reality is that if you don't have internet access, then it becomes a major challenge. Or if you don't have a smartphone or a laptop, then beyond that, we also need the content. What is the instructor going to be presenting to the students? So, and since this thing just came suddenly, then now the issue is, are we prepared? If the student is in a remote site where there is poor internet access or power supply is an issue, he's not able to charge his phone or his laptop, then he or she will also not be able to participate fully in this kind of e-learning. These are the practical issues that we have to relate with it. We have to relate with, and that is why the uptake has been a bit slow. So even if you have the laptop, you have the internet access, both staff and students, but the content, what the lecturer is going to be sharing with the student, not so much as if you are teaching them, but at least to exchange ideas. So it has to be interactive. Like now you introduce me and you ask me to talk. So I think that it's very interactive. And I think if we now extend it to the larger space that you want to, you are in the University of Ibadan, some of your students are in Osogbo, in Abuja, or in Sokoto, how are you in a position to interact with them? I think these are the issues. Thank you.
Sir,
way of introduction, but also come in.
The government response in Nigeria is that schools are shut, and as a result, please, if you are not one of the panelists, mute your mic. I've muted people before. Please mute your mic. I would have to repeat that. I'm muting everybody. Please don't unmute yourself if you are not one of the panelists. All right. The government response in Nigeria so far, sir, that's what I wanted to comment on. The response in Nigeria now is that we have radio and television and online programs. What's the assessment of these packages, sir?
I think it's fine, but I think the major problem I think the government meant well, but of course, maybe you also have to segment the educational system to maybe primary school, secondary school, higher institutions. I mean, like the primary school, all of them are running. I mean, the secondary school now, maybe WAEC or NECO syllabus. So that one is uniform. Like those who are in SS3, maybe they are preparing for their WAEC or NECO, as the case may be. But if you now come to a polytechnic, the polytechnic in Ibadan, I'm sure their own calendar is different from that of.
Pardon? Sir, we can't hear you. Come on, please, sir. Please put your mic.
Sorry.
All right, sir.
So I was trying to say that if when it comes to the higher institution, it's a different ball game. Like I'm at the University of Ibadan, but the truth of the matter is our calendar, academic calendar, where we are in the semester is different from that of our nearest university, Lead City or University later. So each university has to design its own program to be tailor-made. Of course, we can share resources. That is not a problem. Like at the University of Ibadan, when this lockdown started, we were just about completing a session. The faculty board of examiners were to meet then before Senate to approve results. So we are just in the transition between ending the session and moving on to the next session. So the students who were in the 100 level last session, they have not received their results because the session has not ended. So they don't even know which courses they are going to register for in the second year. And even if and when they know, there is still the issue of the instructor or the lecturer having the content to deliver. It's not just to go and stand in front of students. Suppose this class now you ask me to come and teach a geography course, then I must have prepared something like my lesson note and share it with the students. But those are not available in the format that you can share with the students. Like I said, because the COVID-19 pandemic just happened suddenly, so we are not yet there. But it's not so much as if we don't know exactly what to do, but time is of essence. Then before we think of the students and the instructors having the facilities, like we have said, maybe a computer or a smartphone, then both staff and students.
We'll come back to the availability of facilities.
Yes.
Dr. Ademola, you can unmute yourself, sir.
Myself, okay.
Dr. Ademola. All right, sir. Dr. Ademola, I would like you to, yes, sir, welcome, sir. I would like you to take off how this would affect teaching and learning, how this continuous school closure will affect teaching and learning.
Well, thank you very much. Let me appreciate the organizer of this forum, and then let me also appreciate the contribution of my Vice-Chancellor, Professor Olayinka. I'm a product of UI. I did my master's and PhD about 15 years ago.
Well, we can barely hear you at this time. We can barely hear you.
Hello?
We can barely hear you. Maybe we should start all over, please. We could not hear what you were saying earlier.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Better.
Okay. I was just trying to appreciate the organizer of this program, and I also welcome the VC, and as my VC that I'm also a product of UI.
Okay.
That I did my master's and PhD 10-15 years ago.
Okay.
So the lockdown, the COVID-19 lockdown has affected teaching and learning in a higher institution. Because when the COVID pandemic started, COVID-19 started in Asia, and it moved to Europe. We were not, just like the VC said, we are not really prepared.
Sir, we are struggling. It seems that the network coverage at your side there is the problem. So your reception has been cracking all through. That's been cracking all through. We could not get what you were saying clearly. But before you proceed, what he was saying was he started by greeting the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, saying that he's an alumnus of the university, and he also said this closure it has affected Nigeria and the education community in a lot of ways, and he was trying to examine in the various ways in which it has affected the education sector. Proceed, sir. Perhaps it will be better now.
Okay, sir.
Proceed.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, continue.
Okay. What the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected the teaching and learning in our higher institutions negatively. Because
network problem.
we never prepared for it. So that's why the pandemic caught us unawares, and that as we are now, we are all operating from our different homes. Most schools have closed. The schools have closed, and that the students are also dispersed all over the place. But teaching, organizing teachers or lecturers, it's not the problem. The problem is how to reach all the students that are also in the institutions. Because if you want to give teaching, it must cut across all the students, irrespective of their locations. But the experience has shown that most of the students, or some of the students that are in remote places or villages, may not be able to access the teaching, the online teaching that the federal government has directed all institutions to back upon. So we have to find out. We have to find a way of reaching to all the students so that some of them will not be edged out.
All right.
That's very important.
All right, sir. We'll come back to you later, sir. But in the meantime, please, sir, if you could move to an area where the network is better, the network reception is better, to be appreciated, sir. The network has been, but it seems that there is a network at your end, sir. Everything you have been saying so far, in some breaks, if you can move, perhaps if you can move to a place where the network is better, it would be appreciated, sir. So, Professor Olayinka, sir, we know that we know that, please, if you are not one of the speakers, please mute your mic. I've been muting people all over. Please mute your mic. We don't want to be removing people. After this time, anybody that violates that will be removed from this conversation. Mute your mic, please. So, Professor Olayinka, sir, universities are mainly known for research. Apart from learning, research is one of the major aspects for which universities exist, or higher education entirely. Research is one of the sustaining activities in higher education. How does this continuous closure affect research?
Well, in this particular case, research, of course, is a process. So there are different stages. So if a student is just doing literature review and all that, it doesn't really matter where he or she is. They can still be in constant touch with the supervisor or members of the supervisory team. But if it is a situation in which the student is supposed to conduct experiments or do field work, that is almost impossible now because there is virtual closure. It's like the whole country has been shut down. I'm in Ibadan now. I cannot easily travel to Lagos because the boundary between Oyo and Ogun State is closed. The boundary between Lagos and between Ogun and Lagos states are also closed. So it's really a tough one. And if you have to do field work, how do you do field work now when everywhere is locked down? Or even if you're anybody, you cannot go to your laboratory because of the lockdown. So it's certainly going to slow down research. I know people still go to their offices. If you are within Ibadan, you can come. But I think there are severe limitations. The University Central Library, for example, is not opened because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So there are severe limitations. So the best you can do is just skeletal work. But if it involves traveling from here to Calabar to Sokoto, it's almost impossible under this condition of lockdown. These are issues that we have to contend with. That has not much to even do with e-learning. But you are doing your research, you have to do field work. Now you cannot go. You are not able to move freely within the country. So these are limitations. Or even in some cases, you want to travel outside the country, maybe for conference. Unless, even though people are also organizing the virtual conferences now, to short circuit the situation. So these are practical issues that we need to relate with. But we just pray that it will not last for much longer.
From what Professor Olayinka just told us now, conferences, research have been limited, especially if you have to move from one place to another. And as a result, in some cases, some organizations have resorted to online conferences. That's an alternative for them during this period as the pandemic and as the restriction as a result of the pandemic persists. So I'll come back to Dr. Ademola. Sir. Unmute yourself, sir. So in terms of some of the activities in your university, for example, I know that you are not on strike. The academics are not on strike in your university. How has learning continued during this period in your university? Dr. Ademola, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The network.
Okay, thank you very much. When the institution has been closed down on the directive of the federal government,
okay,
the Federal Ministry of Education specifically. Right. So the lecturers are operating from their different locations, from their different homes, teaching students online. we have all resorted to online teaching of students, and that the students are also being informed. They have been informed, so we have been able to also design timetable. Unfortunately, my college was about wrapping up the first semester when the pandemic started. So we are 2 weeks to the exam, to our examinations. So we still have some courses, some examinations to be written by students. So those are the courses the lecturers are revising with the students. So for those courses that they have written the papers, the exams, those have been those courses the lecturers are not teaching them, but they are teaching them those courses that they have not written the exams on. That's a form of revision. That's what we are doing. So the students have been contacted through the various head of departments and deans of schools, so that they can reach out to everybody. So, and we have also resorted to the cheapest means of communicating with them. And currently, we are using WhatsApp, WhatsApp media, application media. But in the circumstance, that may not be the best method. But we feel we are also thinking of the cost of the students, because some of them are from poor homes. So we need to also consider, because we are not the one buying the data for them. So they are the one buying the data. So for now, that's what we have been trying to do, to make sure that the students are not hiding their different limitations.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Please, sir, before I ask you the next question, I don't know whether you can move to a better place where the network is better. The network, your voice has been cut.
Okay.
I could get what you're saying. If you can move to a better place where the reception will be better, it will be appreciated, sir. So,
Okay, I'll do that.
on what Ademola just told us, that in college, at the College of Education, Federal College of Education, Akoka in Lagos. So, and over there, the situation is that students are learning from home, and they are utilizing the internet to do that. And because of the cost it brings upon the students, that they are resorting to using WhatsApp, as you mentioned, and maybe some other medium.
That leave that place and go to another place.
The college lecturers, we usually call them in are utilizing these platforms to continue to teach them. And from what Professor Olayinka also said, the semester was already rounding off when this thing came up. And in some universities as well, we have situations where exams were about starting when this pandemic, or some were even in the middle of exams. Pandemic, when the lockdown was announced on March 23rd. It's March 23rd, everybody has been away. So I'll come back to Professor Olayinka. Sir, what has been the economic impact of this closure on the university, on your university or some other universities as you may be familiar with? Sorry, let me unmute you first, sir. All right, sir, proceed, sir.
You are talking of the economic implications.
Yes, sir.
Well, but I think it's really, very painful. I mean, because like this session now, the session we are in at the University of Ibadan started a year ago. So you find a situation in which you are spending 15 months for an academic session as against 9 months. So you can, I mean, the economic loss cannot really be quantified. I mean, students have been at home now for 2 months.
Please.
Our students have been at home now for 2 months.
There are some people interrupting this conversation. Unless I find out any of them, I will have to remove the person from this. Please mute your mic. Once again, mute your mic. I've muted everyone once again. for the last time, mute your mic if you are not one of the panelists. So only the panelists are supposed to have their mic unmuted. So please, sir, Professor Olayinka, proceed, sir.
Yes, so I was trying to say that the loss has been quite, it has been very significant. Like this, a situation which you spend almost 15 months for an academic session. And so, I mean, the university is losing a lot. The individual students are also losing. So the system itself is the greatest loser. A session should just be like 9 months. I mean, in standard climbs, you resume in September, and by June of the following year, you will have closed. That's why in the US, they can even create a third semester during the summer. But now, like I said, ASU strike, the ASU national strike started exactly 2 months ago on the 9th of March. Now, today is 9th of May. So it's like most of the federal universities have been closed for all practical purposes for 2 months, and we are still counting. So 2 problems we have on our hands: the COVID-19 lockdown, then the ASU strike. We don't even know which one is going to be resolved first. So if ASU strike has not been called off by the time the lockdown is over, then we enter the second phase of it. So it's really very tough. I mean, students who are in the final year, they cannot graduate and move on to not to talk of graduating. Those who wrote JAM last year, for example, that who made the UI their first choice and they have been admitted, they are yet to enter. Meanwhile, JAM 2020 results are already out. So you are going to now deal with 2 sets of students. So the loss is very colossal, but we have to live with it and make the best out of a very bad situation. Because you still have to pay your electricity bill, even though maybe the hostel will not be consuming that much electricity because it's not at home, but you still have to light the corridors and the rest of them. So in your electricity bill, you have to think of it, you have to pay your staff. I mean, granted that the bill is going to be picked up by the federal government as our proprietor. I mean, there's no free lunch, someone has to pay. So the loss is so much to the entire system. I mean, the students who are supposed to graduate and move on with their lives, either through NYC or housemanship or internship, as the case may be, they cannot do that. So the system is losing a lot, and it's not even our reputation is suffering in the process. I mean, granted that we have this COVID-19 lockdown, but the ASU strike is still there. If and when the COVID-19 lockdown is over, then we face the reality of the ASU strike. I think that's just my contribution for now.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. I'll come back to Dr. Ademola. I don't know whether you have any more, you might have some other things to add to that. The economic impact of the closure. Proceed, sir.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected everybody throughout the world. So will not be affected, greatly affected on the government, on the part of the school administrators, on the part of lecturers, on the part of students, because of the restriction of movement. Ordinary people have got
it appears that we'll have to come back.
Most of the services that are also provided in our various institutions, you have to.
We are struggling to hear what he's saying. Most of the time, the line has the connection.
Administration of the institution.
I will come back to him later. Back to Professor Olayinka, sir. Back to you, sir. I would just want you to. You have said that you made a mention in passing earlier about universities having some institutions running conferences through the internet. Specifically in your university, there are perhaps some more academic programs like that you already had in your university. How did this closure affect those things? I mean, apart from teaching and learning, how did this affect?
Okay. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I'm using WhatsApp now.
Yeah, but for us, I mean, all academic conferences have been suspended because of the COVID-19. And you know, even in our own case, most of these conferences are organized by academic staff, and the same academic staff are on strike. So you cannot be forcing them to organize conferences when they are declared a national strike. And that's why I said it's like we have two major problems on our hands. One is the COVID-19, the pandemic. The other one is the ASU strike. So the people who are supposed to organize the academic conferences are on strike. And they gave us the notice that their strike is total, indefinite, and comprehensive. So that puts us in a very difficult and awkward situation. You cannot be on strike and also be organizing conferences, apparently. So I mean, that it has contributed towards the situation in which almost everything is on hold. The lecturers who are supposed to organize those conferences are on strike. So we cannot even move forward until the strike by ASU, national strike, is over. So that's the situation in which we are currently.
Okay. Just a follow-up to that, does that also affect innovations during this period? You know that all over the world we have various researches going on in response to this. How does that also affect such innovations in response to the COVID-19?
It's the same thing, but I think the thing is that the academic staff, like I said, they are on strike. All of us are aware of that, but that has not stopped individuals from still doing some work if they feel like doing it. If the union, the ASU, will not think they are breaking the strike, but it's really a major challenge. So having a national ASU strike is bad enough, but superimposed on top of that has been the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. So even if, like I said in passing a short while ago, even if a lecturer now say, okay, I want to go and do fieldwork at Elisha from Ibadan, how does he get to Elisha without having to cross the boundary between Oyo and Osun State, which has been, there's no free movement. So we can only circulate within your state. So it becomes a problem. Even if you get there, how do you now do any serious fieldwork? So conferences, people can still organize conferences, but I think it's a bit difficult because of, or further complicated because of the national strike by ASU. So that is the situation right now.
So it should be noted here that across the area there have been various efforts in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. In some universities, they've come up with ventilators. In some other cases, they had hand sanitizers, face masks, and all sorts of things like that. That various departments in various universities had come up with in response to the problem. Some are even talking about some researcher at University of Ibadan came up with some medicinal plants that can treat some of the some medicinal products that can treat some of the symptoms of the COVID-19. And we also have some clinical tests going on at Federal University to say. Unfortunately, the Vice-Chancellor is not here to shed more light on that yet. So in some other cases, not everybody is just sitting down because of strike and all sorts of things like that. People are doing things on their own in response to that. And we even have ASU. People as ASU is on strike, we know that ASU is donating relief materials to various communities across Nigeria during this period. So, and we cannot just say that we just need to take note of that as well. So I'll go back to Dr. Ademola, hoping that the network will be better this time around. Sir, at the basic education level, I don't know whether you can hear me. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm hearing you clearly.
All right, sir. At the basic education level or secondary, basic education level especially, let me use that as an example, as a case for this. Children are having to stay at home to learn. And in most cases, they are being taught by their parents. How do you feel that homeschooling children will be effective?
Well, thank you very much. the pupils and the children who are also attending public and private primary and junior secondary schools are also being engaged. Are also being engaged by their various schools and parents. I can attest to that because as a professional teacher, I monitor what happens around. And most of these pupils are also, except maybe those in the villages, are also connected to internet. And some of them are using their parents' Android phones to also get connected to their various schools. And that they are also being taught. They have timetable. Some are being taught via the television. Some are being taught via radio. Some are also being taught through their Android phones using WhatsApp or any other media for that matter. So the only problem with it is that because there are various home environments, there may not be that discipline on the pupils, on the part of the pupils, because school environment is quite different from the home environment. So somebody may be lying down on his bed while he's listening to teachers teaching him or her, or like when he's on school, that that discipline is also there, and so that's just some of the disadvantage of teaching students or pupils online, because at times the parent may not be there to also monitor what the pupil is doing, and he may also end up doing other things using the parent's phones or even his phone, use our phone to do other things while the teaching is going on.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, sir. I would just like Professor Olayinka to add to that, sir. In terms of
yeah, it's possible. Come again.
Proceed, sir. So, sorry. I was asking about the effectiveness of homeschooling children. Would we say it is going to be successful?
Yeah,
how would we get that?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, students can study at home or while at the former school setting. But like this last speaker mentioned, at home there are a lot of distractions that compared to the school environment. And when the students are at school, beyond the formal teaching that their lecturer is teaching them, they also have opportunity to interact with their colleagues. But that will not be so easy when they are all scattered in their respective homes. But because of the kind of emergency that we have, knowing that there are limitations to physical or social distancing, so you cannot have a classroom situation. So maybe it's still okay for students or the pupils at the junior levels to do some learning on their own, but they can easily be distracted when there are no controls. The teachers are not around. But now that they are at home, I think that is the best we can do we can have in the circumstance. So we have to just make the best use of the opportunity right now, at least at that level. But for students in higher institutions, I think they are more matured. They are young adults, so they tend to be more independent. They are focused, and they are always very excited with e-learning. I mean, if the instructor is there at the other end to share his experience with them, I think these are limitations, but we are making the best use of the. But of course, the cost element is there, like we have alluded to earlier, that you have to spend quite some money on data to be able to have internet access. And also the bandwidth has to be good enough for you to be able to, if you have to download a number of things, or you want to use YouTube and others. I think these are the issues that we have to relate with.
All right. So we'll come back to Dr. Ademola. I would like you to take us through how we can bridge the digital divide. This pandemic might have created some digital divide between the access to digital learning platforms for both the rich and the poor. How best can we bridge that digital divide?
Well, I think it has to be seriously tackled.
Sir,
And it's not.
Dr. Ademola, sir, before you proceed, turn off your video. Perhaps maybe the audio will be better. Turn off your video. We'll know what to do about it. Turn off your video and continue talking. Let's see if it will be better. Somebody suggested here now. Turn off your video.
Hello?
Okay, proceed, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Continue.
Okay. Well, to breaching the divide, the digital divide may not be so easy like that because of the divide even within the society because apart from what the government has provided, we need to provide more in terms of making sure that all these digital devices are available in all our schools, right from primary schools to secondary schools to higher institutions. But we know that there are challenges in most of our institutions, especially in higher institutions, because of the availability, non-availability of some of these digital devices and internet and so on and so forth. So if the government is able to also make it a point of compulsion for all higher institutions, maybe we should start from, with public institutions, that because of the experience with this COVID-19, that we should focus on how to also develop our digital learning, so that both the parents and the society and the lecturers and the students will be better for it. So that means we have to get more funds to also develop the devices, the devices, and that provisions will be made for everybody, both lecturers, teachers, and the pupils. And that means for pupils to also be benefited, to be beneficial of this digital technology, the government has to also make provision for them in terms of maybe devices like notebook, like Android phones, and so on and so forth. But we can also minimize the cost if we're able to also get our local manufacturers to produce some of these things cheaper than exporting them or importing them from abroad because of the exchange rates. So we have to go back to the drawing board to make sure that everybody is also charged to make sure that because of the experience of this, we are able to also make sure that we are all better off in terms of provision of digital devices that can serve both all layers or tiers of institutions, be it primary, be it secondary, and be it higher institution. So I think that's just my take on that.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. From what he said now, we learn that we need to take up efforts to minimize costs. And from what he also suggested that we look into attracting localized technology to increase access to digital learning platforms.